Okay. I'm going to go through the reflex arc and what that looks like for neurons. So today we looked at 3 types of neurons. We looked at sensory neurons, motor neurons, and interneurons. I've already written them down, but we're going to look at how they combine together in this thing called a reflex arc, right? Which is just how our body responds to stimulus. All these 3 neurons are at work. But firstly, I want us to distinguish which neurons appear where, right? So we know that in our body, we have the central nervous system and the, someone tell me? Central and? Peripheral. Yeah, peripheral, right? The central is our brain and our spinal cord, and the peripheral is everything else. Now, let's think about this. Our sensory neurons, they're actually found in only one of the nervous systems. If they have to detect stimulus, would they be in the central nervous system or the peripheral nervous system? Can someone tell me? What do we think? All right. If I have to sense stuff, would it be in the central? You can get that actually. Would it be in the central or peripheral nervous system? Good try. Yeah, peripheral, right? Because peripheral is all the nerves on the outside of our body. And to feel stuff, those nerves have to be there, right? So all our sensory neurons are found in the peripheral nervous system. Now for our motor neurons, right? Think about where our muscles are, right? Are our muscles located in the peripheral nervous system or the central nervous system?
Mostly peripheral.
Mostly peripheral, right? So again, I'm going to label them as peripheral. Now last one, our interneurons. Now let's read the role carefully. The role is to transmit signals through the brain and the spinal cord. Does that sound like we'd find them in the central, right? Perfect, cool. Right. Now I'm going to draw a cross section of what that looks like, right? So I'm going to have a sensory neuron. And we know that all sensory neurons, everything in the peripheral nervous system is like a highway that takes us back to our brain and our spinal cord, right? So I'm going to draw a spinal cord here, a bit like a weird disc. I'm going to have some neurons here, and then I'll have my motor neurons. I'm going to draw them a bit stringy and have them attached to the muscle, right? So our prompt here, our big question is, what happens when I touch a hot kettle? Right, so first of all, I've just touched a hot kettle. Which of these neurons am I working first? Yes, Tiana? Yeah, perfect, right? My sensory neurons, right? So first off, I start with my sensory neurons. They detect a change in stimulus, right? Right now, the signal has to travel along the highway to our central nervous system. So the signal starts here, it goes all the way through our body, let's say from our hands, right, to our spinal cord and our brain, right? And our brain goes, oh, that's pretty hot. So our brain decides, I'm going to do an action to take the arm away, right? And in order to move our arm, what neuron are we going to be engaging out of these 3 to move our arm? Yes? Yeah, motor neuron, right? So our sensory neuron detects the change. A motor neuron is what affects the change, right? So it goes through our spinal cord. In our spinal cord, that's where we find our interneurons or our relay neurons. So I'm going to label that here. Right, and that chemical signal goes all the way to our motor neurons. Right, and that chemical impulse will either contract or release the muscle or the relevant muscles, and that causes our arm to move. Obviously, this is really quick, right? Which makes sense, because when we touch something, we want to get our hand off it immediately, right? So all these reflex arc, these actions occur very, very quickly. Cool. Does that make sense? Yeah?